Machine Girl, Psychowar, MG Ultra X. Began by Matt Stephenson, based off of Long Island, New York. Machine Girl released their Wolf Girl debut album 2012. The band was originally known as Artie's Kryptonite, a strange name to match the strange sound, but they switched it to Machine Girl based off of the 90s Japanese movie of the same name. Matt describes Machine Girl as the sound of the apocalypse, which after listening to this album, I could not agree with more. Becoming widely known as some type of digital hardcore, heavy metal, cyberpunk, jungle, breakcore, glitchcore, electronic punk. So many different genres you can just describe their works. To describe it under one genre would not do, or even, two or three genres would not do the band justice. It's just such a unique sound that they produce. But you will find that they are heavily inspired off of Aphex Twin's Lightning Bolt, Venetian Snares, and especially Death Grips. This new album, however, their 11th album, 14 songs long, definitely focuses more on that heavy metal, hard punk, and synth punk feel. Sean Kelly, lifelong friend of Matt, joined 2015 as the drummer, and Lucy Caputi as the guitarist in 2024. While Matt's still the main guy, the main mind behind it, the main mastermind, Sean and Lucy definitely, do help a lot. As you'll come to find, I do talk a lot about how they've kind of made this band a lot better, in my opinion. I listened to Wolf Girl and Because I'm Young, Arrogant, and Hate Everything You Stand For, and I understood the appeal of those albums, but I did not personally like them. I probably would have given them a pretty low rating. I understand, they have a diehard, especially at that point, they had, a diehard fan base, right? But I thought it was too much overstimulation, too much was happening. But with this album, I just felt like it was a lot cleaner, right? I hope I'm using the right adjective there. And it just felt like it was better produced, right? And it was just a lot easier to listen to and nicer on my ears, which is why I like this album a lot more than I did their past two. And I feel like that is because of Sean and Matt becoming better producers and music creators, but also because of Lucy's work. A critic on Album of the Year describes this album as fighting overstimulation with overstimulation, which, as you'll find to come out, is has its pros and cons throughout this album. And the whole album is really this big commentary on the modern world, this dystopia that we're living on AI, targeted advertising, consumerism, wanting to go back to when times were easier and simpler. It wasn't this big constant overstimulation on the senses from media and technology. And the album gives off what that feeling is like, what it's like being overstimulated by all of these senses and all this electricity and electronics and that dystopian world that it causes us to live in. And it really gets you into that feel with the first song, We Don't Give a Fuck. It gives you right into that dystopian feel, and it descends from all these noises and all these synths and just random drums into this simple guitar bass line, right? These slow drums and this rough, heavy vocals coming from Matt, which brings me right. I'm gonna go a little bit out of order here, right, to kind of get my points across, but we go into Psychowar here, right? The song lives heavily off of the bass line, and it, the first time I listened to it, I was a little uninterested, right? But in the second half, it just explodes out, these transcending kind of ethereal vibes. It really feels like going to another world with the second half of Psychowar. And the Psychowar, right, the kind of like the meaning of this album, right? The Psychowar is a war that the PsychoWarrior is fighting, right, obviously. And it's a war that you have to fight, or the PsychoWarrior, the war that you have to win, to free your mind from the control that, everything has around you. For example, in Come On Baby, Scrape My Data, which is my favorite song on here, one of the lines directly from it is, a seventh sense or a lucky guess, show me what I want from what I haven't said. Clearly talking about, targeted advertising, right? How, you can just be thinking or, talking to someone, right? And then you get an ad for it on your phone, right? Obviously talking about that, but the song itself has this super catchy guitar, chorus, genres describing the song kind of like a hard rock, cyberpunk, and industrial. And it's got the sick guitar riff at the end by Lucy Caputi. Ignore the Vor, Rabbit Season, and Dual Wield all kind of shared kind of similar vibes-ish. Followed more like traditional elements of flow and like standard rock, like even like popular genres, right? It felt like they're becoming more standard, right? It kind of feels like it's separating this album a little bit more from some of their past more chaotic works, more of their outgoing works, which definitely isn't a bad thing, right? Like I said, it's actually, for me personally, easier to listen to their songs, more easier to appreciate the talent that these artists have and their visions, right? But it was just a little bit more noticeable how they kind of followed a traditional, more standard route as far as like songs go. You know, it'd be easier to compare a song on this album, you know, another song of the same genre. Intermission feels like a halftime speech from your coach, and you know, a calming presence. Not much is happening, but you still have this angry and energetic feel underlining it. Creeping Up from the Pit, Down to the Essence, and Dread Architect are all songs I dislike. Dread Architect maybe even being a song that I hate. They are just unenjoyable to listen to. I'm always, you know, skipping these songs or turning down the volume on my headphones when these come on. And these ones honestly just bring the album down a lot. Down to the Essence just has these like mad annoying sirens, this like slow rough singing, and it makes it very unenjoyable to listen to. Creeping Up from the Pit is like kind of bad for the opposite reasons. It's got this slow rising feeling, but it just doesn't go anywhere. It gets like really dull about 45 seconds in. Just very underwhelming. And then Dread Architect, like I said, it's my least favorite on here. It has these annoying blaring sirens that just get worse as the song goes on. And the only good part is when in the middle, right? It's the only sweet part, right? And it just listening to Dread Architect feels like, you know, chewing through like a nasty jawbreaker to get to the good part at the center, and then you have to, you know, chew your way out of it, right? It's just not enjoyable to listen to. Now, Phantom Doom, on the other hand, moi. This one is definitely one of my favorites. Probably my second favorite on the album. It has, you know, all three band members are working just amazingly on this song. It has these, you know, ethereal guitar chords and riff that just, you know, it sounds like it's transcending you. You know, singing that just sounds like it's coming straight from Matt's soul. And some of the hardest and best and well-produced drums on any song on this album. And it goes straight into I Void Destroyer, which is an incredible presentation of the Machine Girls' capabilities as a group. It has this, you know, energetic, hard cyberpunk metal, glitch rock feel, and almost a little bit of the psychedelic rock. I might be using the wrong term here, but it does kind of give off that vibe during the chorus, and just sends you off in the world with a bang, you know, an empty syringe of fent in your arm, right? A quote directly from the song: "If you want to know the truth, the whole truth, the real truth, it's all lies." And that quote, you know, gives Machine Girls' final thoughts after you leave this album, and it just ties up the whole theme of this modern dystopia that Machine Girl has described what it's like living in this modern day. It is just a beautifully and equally chaotic way to end the album. So overall, right, I think about half the songs here are bangers and half of them are not. Some of them have, you know, the perfect amount of overstimulation to be a good Machine Girl song, and the other half just have too much or too less. But luckily, though, the songs that are good are, you know, really fucking good, right? So that's why I'm giving the album a high 7 out of 10. I think that Machine Girl is just going to be becoming better and better and better. You know, if going off my past listens, right, if I'm just going to base my opinion off of that, I think that Machine Girl is definitely going to become a much better band over the future as these artists continue to develop their skills and their ability to create awe-inspiring and jaw-dropping music. And I think I said everything that I wanted to say. So, Lamalu out. But you can't ignore